Hello, I'm Bill Bailey. Welcome to Comics Choice. This is a show where I ask some of my favourite comedians to choose their favourite comedians. You know, it'd be like getting Alan Titchmarsh to pick his 10 favourite gardeners. Right? What a show that would be. Or Chris Moyles to pick his 10 favourite oafs. Or Peter Andre to pick his 10 favourite coloured pens. My guest tonight is a brilliant stand-up comic, author, writer, broadcaster and star of her own sitcom.
About this, American scientists have said that due to the release of certain hormones, a lot of men have no memory of sex. Okay. I've always found that due to the release of certain pregnancy test results, men have no memory of sex.
Please welcome Jo Brand.
Hello, all right. How is it? Yeah, good now.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Just saw you there, doing your brilliant stand-up. And also, the fantastic Getting On.
Getting on.
Oh, I love that.
Do you?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
You must be very chuffed with that.
We are chuffed with it. You can imagine how it was trying to pitch it to the BBC, set in a hospital. You know.
Yeah. On a
It's got-
geriatric ward.
Yeah, the 3 stars are 3 rather unattractive middle-aged women. Coma.
It's just, it's very warm and tender, and there's some very funny moments, and obviously moments that are probably drawn from your own experience. But there's also, it's incredibly sad as well. There's a great sadness about it, and a sense of, like, people just muddling through in a situation that's pretty desperate. You know,
That sounds like my home life as well. I think that's what I really wanted to get at, the kind of funniness of it, but also how incredibly sad it is, really. Having been a nurse, I did have a wealth of very unpleasant hospital stories that I wanted to include in it.
Yeah.
Like, the first one that we ever did starts with a poo being found on a chair, and then there's kind of an investigation as to where
it came from, obviously, yeah.
Now, that is actually loosely based on my experience, except it was me that did the poo on the chair.
So, we're going to talk about your sort of favourite bits of comedy that over the years, I suppose, you've been influenced by or kind of loved. Was that something which you watched a lot as a kid?
What we watched was dictated by my dad, who was very strict and very selfish.
Right.
But thankfully, he liked things that were quite good, like Morecambe and Wise and Dad's Army and that sort of thing.
So, all right, well, I'm going to start off with your first category is Best Female Comic.
Yes.
Now, your first nominee is Beryl Reid.
Indeed.
Why Beryl Reid?
Well, first of all, because I just think if you look at her, she looks funny.
Yeah.
And I think that's quite important if you're a comedian.
Yeah, that is, yes.
You don't get many kind of comedians come on stage and go, oh, I wonder if they're a part-time model, do you? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
there
that's
has to
true.
be something funny about you. And I think the thing I like about Beryl Reid, which I love particularly about some women comics, is they don't mind looking like a twat for a laugh.
No.
And I think that's really important.
And do you think that is true of female comics generally, then? Do you think there's a sense of having to kind of not be too self-conscious, really, in a way?
Yeah, definitely. And I think women are kind of brought up to be much more self-conscious than men, you know, and to be constantly encouraged to sort of look good.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing I really love is I get held up by the Daily Mail as an example of how women shouldn't be, right? And there was an article recently, and they always do, like, a 2-page spread, and on one side there's, like, the perfect woman, and I think it was Felicity Kendall or someone like that.
Right.
Always very well-groomed, hair looks lovely.
Yes.
And underneath it said, Felicity takes care of herself. Then there's, like, a picture of me, like the worst one they could find. You know, incontinent and sort of... And underneath me it said, Jo Brand doesn't care.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Beryl Reid. Let's have a look at Beryl Reid, anyway. There we go.
You know, I even come here tonight, Chinese style. I asked my boyfriend first if he'd arrange for me to have a ride on a hacksaw.
Hacksaw? You mean a rickshaw?
I thought it was a bit uncomfortable.
He's moved in with his sociology teacher.
Oh, God. This would never have happened if your father was still alive.
He's still alive.
I thought I told you to kill him.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. I'll do it now if you like.
No, don't bother.
I'm going to bed then. You all right?
Yeah, I might go out a bit later on and gas a few badgers.
Brilliant. And was that a young Bruce Forsyth I saw there?
Yes, but he just looks like he does now, doesn't he?
He looks like a lizard. Can we show that again? Because there's a bit where his tongue comes out like a chameleon.
Oh, you mean a rickshaw?
Yeah. Anyway, we're not talking about him. We're talking about Beryl Reid. What do you... I mean, do you think you need to have a voice, you know? Because she's got quite a sort of fluty sort of voice she's got. It's brilliant.
She's a great sort of mimic as well,
Yeah.
you know, and just a kind of natural comic, I think.
Do you think that's something that you sort of sought out when you were trying out stand-up for the first time? A voice? So I remember when I first time I saw you, you had a very deadpan style.
Yes.
It was kind of like a monotone.
It was totally because I had no idea what to do. And it just kind of came out like that. At my first ever professional gig, I heard them announce my name and realised I hadn't bothered to find out how to get on stage. So I did this kind of Spinal Tap thing of, like, running all around the theatre, and eventually had to crawl out under the curtain to get on stage. And then I took the mic out of the stand and broke it. You know, I was like, how not to be a stand-up?
OK, your second nomination, Victoria Wood.
Indeed.
I mean, Victoria Wood, we probably know her for all kinds of things, sketch shows, TV stuff, but it's as a comic you've chosen her.
Yeah, well, I think, again, Victoria Wood does that great thing that women are normally a bit too timid to do, is she doesn't care how shite she looks for the sake of a laugh. You know, I don't know if you... Do you remember the sketch where she was swimming the channel and she's got this hideous swimming costume on, rubbing goose fat on her legs, you know?
Yeah.
It's so unpleasant, but so funny.
Yes, all right, let's have a look at Victoria Wood.
May I ask what you're doing here?
We've come about to test your babies and that.
We want to test your baby. Why? Are there problems?
We've only got a maisonette, so a little tiny test tube.
They've grown to a normal size. They're conceived in the test tube.
We'll never both fit in.
There's a problem. There's no support vessel, no officials, nobody. Chris is entirely alone.
Are you still going to go, Chrissy?
Yeah, I think so. I might as well. It's Frank Marie's at Kidderminster today, so I haven't got anybody to play with anyway.
What about food and drink?
Well, I've got a sandwich box, so I think they'll stay dry. And I've got some little milkshakes in cartons. I think they'll be all right. And, see, I could put my duffel bag round my neck, like this.
Well, what about finding the French coast?
I think I'll find it all right, thank you. I came fourth in geography. 82%. What time is it?
7:55.
5 to 8. Off I go then.
That was 8 days ago. And Chrissy hasn't yet reached land.
I think the worst fault of the British is they're no good. No good at having fun, I would say. I would class myself as a British, and I'm no good at having fun. I get overexcited if there's a pattern on my kitchen roll, you know. I mean, if you think in India, you know, if a man dies, the widow flings herself onto the funeral pyre. I mean, if a man dies in this country, the woman just drags herself into the kitchen and says, 72 baps, Connie, you slice, I'll spread.
Do you think in some ways she's sort of like a kind of godmother of female stand-ups in a way? Then,
Absolutely, and I think the other thing about her is that everybody likes her, you know, which I can't honestly say about myself, for example. But she, like, women like her, which actually a lot of the time they don't for some reason with women comics. I remember being on The Late Show at the Comedy Store once, and there were two women standing in front of me, and one of them said, "Oh, God, there's a woman comic on next. Should we go to the bar?" And I was like, yeah, it's fucking me. I'm all right.
But when you first started out, you know, as a female comic, it must have been quite intimidating, those late-night shows where crowds are quite sort of vocal it's almost like some of them are kind of like a seething mob. Early
Well,
gigs.
I think two things helped me. First of all, in the early days, I would attempt to get as drunk as the audience. So by 2 o'clock in the morning, I'd be off my face.
Yeah.
And also, actually, having been a psychiatric nurse for 10 years in a walk-in psychiatric emergency clinic in South East London, I never, ever heard anything in an audience as bad as I heard when I was a nurse, because very mad people are much more articulate and much more cutting than drunk knobheads from the
Punters,
city.
yeah.
They really are. You know, so in some ways, if someone went, F off, you fat cow, that was a positive compliment to me compared to what I'd heard in the past.
So that's quite a good grounding then, in a way. I mean, psychologically toughens you up a bit.
Did you ever get hit by anyone, for example?
Well, I got hit by a lemon once. And I was in the middle of doing a song, and I saw something coming out of the audience, arcing through the lights, and you never know quite what it is. I just went, like that, and it went, like that. And it hit me on the side of the neck.
Was it like a slice of lemon
A
out
slice
of a drink?
of lemon out of a
Yes.
drink, yeah. So it had a little bit of vodka in it as well. And afterwards, the girlfriend of the bloke who'd thrown it, who was now passed out, unconscious on the floor, and she came and went, "Is it my boyfriend, he loves you." I went, "Well, what did he throw a lemon at?" He goes, "He's just trying to help." All right, your next nominee is Morwenna Banks. Now,
Indeed.
Morwenna Banks, brilliant comic actress. Let's have a look at Morwenna, anyway.
Baby is born out. It is only 1 inch big, with a centimetre on it. And the doctor does say if it is big enough to go in the world, and if you're allowed to hold the baby, you must be very, very careful. Because the baby's head is not properly sewed on to the rest of it. And it might drop off and roll on the ground, and a dog might eat it.
But Morwenna's, I mean, she's worked constantly for years and years, all kinds of different shows. She plays these characters brilliantly.
Well, that's right. I mean, that little girl character that she does was absolutely my favourite comedy character. It was just, she just had it so brilliantly, I think.
Yeah.
And now that I've kind of got daughters
Yeah.
who've been that age, you know, watching her do that was just so great.
OK, so I'm going to ask you now, if you're going to have to pick a winner, best female comic, who would it be?
Well, I think for kind of her contribution to sort of leading the way, really, for all women comics that came after, it has to be Victoria Wood. And for
OK.
being so versatile.
All right, the best
too.
female comic, Victoria Wood.
Yes, that's much better. If we deliver these antiques on Friday morning, we can take delivery of these antiques in the afternoon.
Excuse me, Miss Babs and Miss Bertha, could I have a word?
Well, if it's to ask me for another job for your untrustworthy cousin Joseph, then the answer's no. This last little escapade has a 2 pounds in French English, not to mention apologising to every Asian grocer between here and Manchester.
No, it's not that.
That's great. More of Joe Brown's Comics Choice after the break.